to our bell work. This is the same as yesterday because we're still using the same, we're still working on the same I can statement. So our I can statement for today, would someone like to read that?
Yes, I would.
AJ?
Yeah, I can use SketchUp to generate a 3D model of my puzzle.
Alright, so today we're going to be moving through some different methods for creating shapes within SketchUp. Okay, so what is it that we're trying to create in SketchUp? Okay, you're trying to create a cube, but what do we call that? What is this whole big idea of what we're doing? Because guess what? Soon you're going to be creating other things than just puzzle cubes in SketchUp. 3D modeling.
Right.
So we learned about 2D modeling. Now we're moving on to 3D modeling, okay? So yesterday we learned about a method, and that is the additive method. All right. And so someone explain in your own words what the additive method would be. Let's see here. AJ?
You take a block and then you add to that other block something bigger and weird shape.
Okay, so you take a block and you add two other blocks to it to make a weirder block or shape.
That weird block.
Okay, to make that weird block. Okay. Would anyone like to come up and kind of show on here how you made your additive method, how you did that? Are you all super shy today?
Yes.
Yes. Did a day without electricity just render everyone speechless?
Yeah. So I just need to draw that.
Zapped the confusion into me.
Oh, I got electricity. I don't live on this house.
That's good.
My computer power surge.
Alrighty, so when we create something using additive method, one of the things that we do is we take shapes and we add them together. So we might say, okay, so we've got a cube here, and then over here we have a longer section, and so we can break it down into easy to create chunks, right? And so you'll have to forgive my isometric. I have no isometric lines on there, so it's not very good. So today we're going to start using a different method that's actually the opposite of that, and that's going to be the subtractive method. Now, based upon that name, does anyone want to predict what anyone other than AJ, who's fantastic, but I want to hear from other students. So William, what would you predict the subtractive method would be?
Start to split big block and pretty much just take a little of it instead of adding on to it.
Alright, so it starts with the big block, and instead of adding on to it, we take away. So it's kind of like someone, do any of you know, this is like an old-fashioned skill that my grandpa did this. He had like a wood knife, and he would take a piece of wood and he would whittle it down into like a toy or an object or a figurine, and so we would start with a big block of wood. Sculptors do this all the time in art. So what we would do is if we wanted to eliminate a part of that shape, we would take away. Now, if you're sketching by hand, is this a practical thing to do? It might require more effort to draw the shape and then erase part of the shape. But when we're working in a 3D modeling environment, such as SketchUp, it actually makes more sense at times to draw a bigger shape and then cut out a section of it, okay? So does anyone know what tool you might use in SketchUp for that? We're gonna find out here in just a minute, but I want to see if any of you have any ideas what tool you would. Push, pull, or erase. Okay, very good. So we're going to watch a short, about 1 minute video that's going to detail how you might go about doing this for a puzzle piece. And then you guys are going to get the chance to start trying this method yourself. We also have very emotional music to go with the subtractive method.
That's always
Three-dimensional objects can also be seen as the remainder of a solid block or other whole object that has had one or more parts removed. So let's look at building the same L-shaped puzzle piece using the subtractive method. First, we'll create a rectangle rectangular solid. Sketch a rectangle 2 1/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch. Extrude the rectangle 1½ inches to create a box from the rectangle. Now, sketch a square of 3/4 of an inch on the top of the right base. Extrude the sketch inward 1½ inches to cut into the part. You can see we've made the same L-shaped puzzle piece that we did with the additive method. In practice, there are typically many ways to create a part through a combination of additive and subtractive methods. It's best to consider your options before you start to model a part, so you can identify a method that will be most efficient. This will help you build solid models with less time and effort.
All right, so what do you think? How does the subtractive method compare as far as how it's going to work to the additive? Would you like to just try it and see? Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to go back to figure 9 that we did with the additive method yesterday and is on the screen here. You can also pull it up on your Chromebook. And then you're going to sketch figure 9 using the subtractive method this time, okay? Now, once you get that done, because my prediction is that this may take you less time than the additive method. Once you get that done, then I would like you to begin on step 18, which is where you get your puzzle cubes out. So everyone go ahead and pull your puzzle cubes out of your box. I'm gonna borrow yours. Okay? Alright, so we've got a puzzle cube here. This is the lovely puzzle cube made by Luca and Alex, okay? One of the things that I've noticed is that there's a lot of differences in their shapes. They made a lot of different shapes because they needed to make interlocking pieces, right? So as you look at these cubes, and once you've mastered the subtractive method in addition to the additive method, then you're going to have to look at it and say, what's going to be the best way to make this? Part of it may be the additive method. When I look at this one, I think that there's a place where I would use the subtractive method, and there's a place where I would use the additive method. So you can do both within one, okay? So it's not just either or, you use what works best, but these are skills that are going to help you to create this. So after you get your subtractive method practice done, then you're going to apply this to creating 5 different files, one of each puzzle piece for your puzzle cube, okay? And then once you get that done, then you will take each one of those pieces and you'll create a file where you interlock them all and show the whole cube put together, okay? Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions? All right. Well, if no questions, you can go ahead and get started. Remember, the first thing you're doing is subtractive method on figure 9 on STEM laptops.
You shaved that piece from yesterday? I don't think I had time to shave it. Let me see one of the pieces. Huh? Let me see one of the pieces. Just give me
Wake it up. So how do you think you're going to go about doing this? Remember, you're doing the piece that's on the board right there. So how do you think you do it?
a giant rectangle.
Okay.
Maybe I'll cut out that part. this section. There's so many different ways.
Sounds like you're on the right track, so get started.